What's going on, everybody? Welcome on into Press Coverage, where we help you gain an edge in fantasy football. I'm your host, as always, Wyatt Brittle, and with me tonight, Alan Seslowsky from Rotowire to talk about some tight end ADPs and tell you if we're buying or selling them right now. Alan, how are you? How you been doing? What have you been working on?
Already, you're a better host than Matt Kelly.
I don't know if I want. I don't want that put on me.
No. I'm telling you, it's like he's. No, I'm like you know what I'm saying. So I'm glad to be always with you on the Player Profiler Network, man. I enjoy your show. I've checked it out since you've taken it over. You do a really good job, very thorough. It's like I said, you made the kind of the slogan like, oh, we try to give you an edge, but you do a good job. There's things on there that I've heard you say that I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what content creators do. We hear other content and then we kind of try to remix it and give our own thoughts, right? So you do a good job at that, I have to say.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, and I really appreciate you being here. Let's get into the tight ends. Let's give the people what they want. Our first one, Sam LaPorta, where he's tight end 4 across the business, basically, right now. Okay. Now, last year, kind of a disappointing season based on what he did as a rookie. Just 10.9 PPR points per game in 2024. That was tight end 8. But we know he's dealing with some injuries last year, right? And after week 8, he kind of started to catch back on 13.2 PPR points per game from week 8 on. He suffered this hamstring injury before the season. Might have hampered him a little bit. Tough to say exactly how much. We can cut up some games and make it look a little better, but you're always going to run into a little bit of trouble if you start doing that without anything concrete. See all that to say. Now we go into this next season where there could be some possible change with the Lions. We know no longer Ben Johnson. Frank Ragnow is now retired. We could see some regression for this offense, and where that regression takes place will be interesting to see. So, at this current price, Sam LaPorta, yes or no?
Oh yeah, no, I'm in here, and I like that you separated pre-injury and post-injury. The if you look like in the money weeks, Wyatt, right? Like I think in from week 13 on to the end of the year. I mean, we could cherry pick here a little bit, but he was tight end 4 with 16 fantasy points a game at PPR. Like it got off to a rough start. Like he was going in the second round last year. Maybe he dripped into the third. I'm just trying to think back of what it was.
Right. Yeah.
But he was like a push everyone out of the way pick. And this year you're getting like an elite guy who can finish as the tight end 1 at after you don't have to spend that premium pick. You could still populate your roster first with a couple running backs or a couple receivers. The best part about LaPorta and why you should be in is that what's the worst thing about drafting a tight end in round 1 and round 2? Going back to Gronk, Jimmy Graham, Travis Kelce, is like you're always chasing the draft, right? Like you never you're like, man, I'm short 1 wide receiver, I'm short 2 running backs. So the good thing about LaPorta is he's set it and forget it. If he has 3 or 4 bad weeks, you're not benching him. It's some of those guys that are deeper down the list, like tight end so deep, and you throw in just any, Zach or anyone down the list. A week or 2 that's bad, man, Wyatt, you're just you start playing tight end roulette. So that's what I think the appeal is here, is that the price is fair, and he's a set it and forget it guy, at least for the first month of the season.
Sam LaPorta has been a player that I've kind of waffled on this offseason in a way that I don't have a lot of fear about him in 2025. I still think he's going to be a big part of the offense. I understand the Jameson Williams ascension possibly took some away from Sam LaPorta in 2024, but with this being a possible new offense just a little bit, I kind of feel like Sam LaPorta's role is a little bit safer than Jameson Williams' role might be. And that seems to be a little bit of an unpopular take at this point. I know Jameson Williams has a lot of steam coming behind him right now. But with that, where he ends up in drafts, I don't always attack that price because, I'm either elite tight end or I find myself waiting, and these ones in the middle, I tend to just not get interested too much where I'm drafting the other positions around them. How do you feel
he's
about
in
that?
Such an island, right? Like you said, he's like his own tier. Did you see this?
Yeah, he is.
Picks? Yeah. Do you, I play my high stakes stuff on NFFC. I know FFPC is a little different because the 1.5 people go after it. So that's why the NFFC has a little bit more home league feel to it, even though it's obviously not. But his pick spread over the last 10 days, Wyatt, is pick 47 is the earliest, and 84 is I mean, so that's what I'm saying. It's like one of those things where the 2 Trey McBride and Brock Bowers get drafted in rounds 2 and the 3 hook, and then George Kittle is everyone's favorite pick this year, mine too, by the way. I took him at pick 36 the other day. And I know, you get him in the 4th, it's free money. And then it's like, what am I going to do here? There's good players. So yeah, that's why I just think like Sam LaPorta belongs in that tier. And you mentioned something really important that I think that I'm concerned with too. It's like Ben Johnson's gone, right? The system is not the same. You talked about the offensive line, but once you're like an established veteran quarterback like Jared Goff is, Wyatt, it's like you almost become like the quasi offensive coordinator. Like Jared Goff has been there for a while now. He knows what plays he liked. So he's, that's what I'm saying. I'm not overly worried about the Ben Johnson thing because they promoted in-house, right? Like they didn't bring in like some totally new system. So I'm with you. I have not drafted Sam LaPorta in like the 58 best balls I've done, a bunch of the industry stuff. And, it's just like, but when I saw him that we were going to talk about him tonight, I was like, you know what? I need to rethink this a little bit. Like it's time to draft a little Sam LaPorta. The price is really fair this year.
Yeah, I agree with you about like the offense as a whole. Like it doesn't really concern me too much. It's still Dan Campbell's offense. Like the identity, I think, is there. I think they'll still be really high pace, go for and 4th downs, like all the things like that we really like. I still think that exists for the offense. So that doesn't really concern me much.
Why haven't you taken him? You said that you've avoided him, not like proactively. You just haven't taken him. Why?
Yeah, you get in these drafts, and I feel like if I'm not feeling strong at running back and wide receiver, when it gets to be his point in the draft, he's not where I'm going because I don't know if he has the same ceiling as Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle. And if that's the case, I'd rather just wait for someone who I think could potentially be the same as Sam LaPorta. Like I might wait till David Njoku, and I'd rather load up at those other skill position players at that section of the draft. But when you bring up like that ADP, from the NFFC where he's falling, like he falls that far. Well, now we're talking about a different price, and now I can get real interested in that.
What's the price that you're talking about? That like you're on the fence. It's like that 4-5 turn thing, or like
I think in leagues where you're having to start 3 wide receivers, I think it's got to be like 7th round for me.
Oh, okay. You're not going to get them there. I mean, that's
I'm just not going to frequently. Possibly 6th, end of the 6th. If like I'm feeling real good about those first 5 picks, I feel like I've solidified, those skill position players, and I want to just lock in the production I think I'm going to get from a Sam LaPorta. Yeah, that's a little bit different. But maybe you've taken on some risk in those early picks where you're taking a bigger swing, and when you get to that point, you're like, I want to bolster wide receiver because I took a little bit. I went Marvin Harrison, who I'm not sure is going to get there. But he could, and I want to bolster my wide receiver core a little bit more instead of taking a shot at tight end.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is that you don't. Every year we just talk about tight end, like, oh, it's so deep. Look, you can get tight end 18. It's the same as tight end 9. But you know what happened? Then you start chasing touchdowns, right? Like Hunter Henry scores a touchdown, and then you put him in your lineup, and then he does nothing. And then the week after that, you put Brenton Strange, you pick him up off the waiver wire, and then he does nothing. So that's the worst part, is playing that tight end roulette. I don't like it. So that's what I think. This conversation, before we even get into more player takes, like, so you said your tight end strategy is you were going to go after the premium guys.
Yeah, premium or wait has been my, which happens a lot most years, but I feel very strongly about the elite 3 this year for sure.
But Kittle is the 3rd for you, right?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's just like I said, it's just in draft day, once you take one of those guys in round 2, man, it's just like you always feel like you're a little bit behind, but go ahead. And I was saying in a league where you have 9 starters, like 1 flex, 2 receivers, which a lot of home leagues play, I think it's more important to get the tight end. Where you have like 3 receivers and a couple flex, then it's a tougher strategy for the reasons you outlined with the wide receivers.
Yeah, it's structure, and that structure is going to depend on where you're drafting as well, and what you could expect and where to get those tight ends. Like Trey McBride falling into 3rd sometimes now in places, like that seems pretty good to me. Brock Bowers is falling into the end of the 2nd a lot of times now in some places. Like that sounds great. George Kittle, like you said, if you ever get him in the 4th, that's like free money.
Yeah.
So those are great. But so you just playing that market and seeing what you can get.
NFFC, Bowers always goes in the 2nd. In the FFPC, I'm assuming he's like a top 5 pick, something like that.
I would. Yeah, got to be top 5.
Yeah. No, very good. Sam LaPorta. I mean, I agree. I want a piece of. If I'm doing 5 drafts, I wouldn't mind getting 1 LaPorta if I'm doing like 5 home leagues or something.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, tight end 2 of the day, TJ Hockenson. Universal tight end 5 across the world right now. 8.7 PPR points per game in 2024, but he played in just 10 games after returning from that torn ACL and MCL. So TJ Hockenson, we kind of know who he is. He's basically just been the same guy his entire career. Not a particularly efficient tight end, but a high target earner at tight end. And his production is really just kind of dependent on how many targets he's getting in the offense that he's in. Since he's been with Minnesota, that's been pretty high because it's been a high volume passing offense with Kevin O'Connell. But we also have Jordan Addison's ascension. We've got JJ McCarthy in his QB. Should be healthier now in 2025. Where do we fall on TJ Hockenson?
Yeah, I mean, TJ Hockenson was a player that everyone was excited about in PPR leagues, but he's become more of like a young version of Zach Ertz, right? Like a catch and fall guy type of guy. But I like that you highlighted that he gets volume, and that's what matters. So I think really where Hockenson comes down to is like, let's just look at this whole ecosystem, for lack of a better word. I'm a big believer in Kevin O'Connell. I don't know anyone that isn't. I actually made a
we
quote,
love him.
Right, a bold prediction that he's going to be the first ever back-to-back coach of the year. If he could do it again with a rookie quarterback and have 14 wins, I think he gets it, Now, Jordan Addison, potentially looking at a 3-gamer, right? I think that's what's baked into his ADP, more or less. Justin Jefferson's hamstring scares the hell out of me. I don't know about you, but not that
a little bit of a new one going on,
little linger thing going on, like that we see. This is giving me Christian McCaffrey vibes from last year. Oh, it's no problem. Just take him anyway. No. Your injuries are going to get your fantasy team. Just be careful about drafting injuries in the top 6 picks. So, I mean, TJ Hockenson, now a second year removed from the injury, which is what we like. We don't love players that come back from the first year of injury. We like them the year after. Still in his tight end prime for the most part. But he falls into this same thing that LaPorta falls into, where it's like, I haven't really been drafting tight ends in that range. He's a perfectly fine pick. I don't have him as my 5, but I know he is the universal 5, but and that's where he goes. But yeah, so I would take him if he falls to if I'm in the 8th, 9th round and I'm just going to do it, that's fine. That's usually where I'm taking like a quarterback or, just a sleeper at that point. But yeah, man, I mean, it's probably set up where the professional drafters, the guys that spend the big money on FFPC and NFFC, they take those boring picks and they print money every year. And we're looking, for these exciting upside guys that just never pay off. So Hawk is probably a good pick and I'm buying, but in all fairness, in all the drafts I've done, I haven't taken one single TJ Hockenson pick.
It's funny. I think we're switching places for Hockenson now. So you mentioned Justin Jefferson and the mild strain. It always bothers me, mild strain, because I think it makes people think there's a big difference here between strain and mild strain. In my head, I'm thinking, no, this is still a strain. It's still something we have to worry about. Now, I'm hoping that the Vikings just look at Justin Jefferson and say hey, we got some time. We got a little over a month until the season starts. You're not doing anything but making sure that hamstring is ready to go. Similar to a couple of years ago when he hurt his hamstring in season, and they're like, we're taking the time on this to make sure you're good. But Hockenson, I agree with you. Very similar bet to Sam LaPorta, but round cheaper basically everywhere. So when I want to draft that profile, I do it with TJ Hockenson instead of Sam LaPorta more often than not.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, both of these offenses, the system, we believe in them, right? The one thing also is that JJ McCarthy is essentially a rookie quarterback. I don't like betting on rookie quarterbacks. Now, Justin Jefferson, a healthy Jefferson, it's a little different because the guy produced with Nick Mullins, right? And he's QB proof. He's basically this era's Julio Jones or whoever. He can produce with anybody. But I mean, if JJ McCarthy is not good, maybe it doesn't matter with the tight end. That's, the safety blanket, and it shouldn't matter. But, I know that there's a lot of, Twitter, a lot of analysts with large Twitter followers that are just really hyping up JJ McCarthy, and he could be good. But that seems to set the tone, and then we all echo it. I'm scared. I'm treating even look, Caleb Williams last year wasn't good, right? I mean, we see it all the time with rookie quarterbacks. Very few come in or Andrew Luck right away. So I will pass on Hockenson probably just based on scared of JJ McCarthy. And again, like you said, there's so many other options. I mean, I don't want to, I don't think we're talking about Tucker Kraft tonight, but Tucker Kraft is someone that I'm pushing people out of the way for. I would take, he's my 5th tight end. You don't have to take him there.
I dig it.
Yeah. So, and for obvious reasons. So I'm not going to dip in on Hockenson, But like I said, he's a perfectly fine pick,
Yeah, I'll note the same thing that probably everybody who's a JJ McCarthy bull will say, and that's
Where are you on
Kevin.
him?
I'm in on JJ McCarthy
Okay.
at price.
Yeah.
I liked him as a prospect, and Kevin O'Connell. Doesn't matter who it's been, Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, like it kind of just doesn't matter.
That's
They
fair.
get the numbers done. So I get the concerns, essentially a rookie QB, but I liked him as a prospect. I like all the factors still come together for me.
Yeah, and look, they pushed Sam Darnold out the door for him, right? They believed in him. They didn't have to do that. I mean, they could have Jordan loved them, right? Where,
Right.
I mean, although Sam Darnold is no Aaron Rodgers coming up back to back,
little bit of a difference.
little difference, yeah. So yeah, so man, I mean, maybe I need to start thinking about these guys. Those are ones that I've never even thought about them. Like, in that zone, I was more in like the Evan Ingram in the beginning of draft season. I've backed off that one completely a little bit. It's so funny. Like sometimes we start doing this, like the redraft stuff. Like we do all our rookie analysts in like February, even before that, January, February, March.
Yeah.
Then we start doing some early best ball. And I feel like those rankings that are in my head, those takes are the best ones because we get poisoned by all these takes all over social media and podcasts and everything else. And then I hear the case for and against all these guys. I forget who the hell I liked in the first place.
It's true. Sometimes you just have to like shut out the noise, put on like the blinders, and focus on what you've been working on.
Yeah, no, you can't because you love fantasy football. You consume, like, I don't know about you, but I listen to a ton of fantasy football podcasts,
Yeah, I do
a ton of podcasts. We're of the podcast era. I mean, I just listen to so much content that even I find myself yelling into the microphone. And that's why I started my podcast, because I was like tired of the fantasy analysts not asking the guests the questions that I wanted to hear. So that's why I was like, I'm just going to start my own. So
yeah,
that's how it goes.
Well, everyone out there, as you see, we're trying to help you win your fantasy leagues. And another way you can help win your fantasy leagues is by checking out the Player Profiler Draft Kit. So let's hear about that real quick. And when we come back, we're talking about Travis Kelce.
The world-famous Draft Kit is live, and it is this signature bit of content that we create every year to help you dominate your fantasy league. The most in-depth team previews you'll find anywhere, including signature trends and a lot of key stats on individual teams. Also, a 300-player cheat sheet for best ball, for seasonal leagues, individual cheat sheets from the top analysts here at Player Profiler. There's also video analysis and written analysis from some of the top minds in the industry. And we have all these new features like a Rate My Team feature, plug in your roster, and our AI tools automatically generate a draft score, as well as a whole commissioner guide. You have to subscribe to it to believe it. PlayerProfiler.com/draftkit, PlayerProfiler.com/draftkit. Get it now. Go win.
Back on press coverage with Alan Seslowsky talking about tight ends, and we're on to Travis Kelce. Now, just like the first two, Travis Kelce, universal tight end 6. 12.2 PPR points per game last year as the tight end 6. But I know this is small sample size, and I don't like to do this that often. But in the first 3 games of the season, where Rashee Rice played all 3 games fully, he had just 12 total receptions and 5 PPR points per game during that time because they live in the same area of the field. Now, Rashee Rice, he's back healthy, supposedly, but now we've got this looming suspension. We don't know exactly how much it's going to be. Hell, by the time this comes out, we might know the exact games. It could come out at any point. I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably going to be somewhere in between 4 and 6 games, which should allow Travis Kelce to kind of live in that area a little bit again to start the season. But after that, will he do it again? We've got Xavier Worthy, another year in the offense. Isaiah Pacheco's back. Will the running game return a little bit for them? Where are you at on Travis Kelce?
Well, with this rewind to the Rashee Rice, I'm predicting 8 games. I'm saying
all right.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL is trying to deter the drag racing thing, and the guys get 30 days in jail to serve, right? They can't give him a suspension that's shorter than his jail sentence. I mean, he's got to, right? Yeah. So I'm predicting like they're going to try to deter the behavior with 8. Now they may negotiate it down to 6, but I mean, I still see him, Rashee, and we'll talk Travis Kelce here, but I still see Rashee Rice getting drafted in the 4th round. And I don't get it at all, but that's fine. Everyone's allowed to, if I'm wrong, then that person's going to profit. Travis Kelce is he in the part of his career where he's being used like late career Gronk and Jimmy Graham, where it's like 3rd downs only, maybe in the red zone? I just fear that they're saving him for the big game December, right? Like the biggest part you said is they're going to probably try to continue with the running game with Isaiah Pacheco. Hollywood Brown was absent to start the year last year. Not that he's like one who demands targets, but if Hollywood Brown gets 8 targets, you're not surprised, right? I mean, and then they have a good looking rookie that everybody likes for some downfield stuff as well. Not that affects Travis Kelce. He's still Travis Kelce. He'll have games. And if you draft him where he's going, I mean, the price this is the cheapest Travis Kelce's ever been since his rookie year. There's some upside there. He had some big games last year, but man, he's just in that part of, I mean, let's see. Tony Gonzalez, he was age 37, right? And he had a pretty good year, right? It wasn't like a year that like won fantasy leagues or anything like that. So it probably can work. It's probably a par, right? You're just, you're going to get what you paid for. Again, not someone I've drafted at all here. I always go premium tight end I wait till the very end. Like I have one team where I like starting Mason Taylor. That's not good. Don't do that. Don't do that. So yeah, I mean the price on Kelce's fair, but it's just like I'm not going to take him there. I'm just there's too many other good positional players, and I'm not really scared he's going to beat me either, except if it's one of those weeks where he has like a blow up game.
That last point you made, Alan, I think is the one for me, and why I'm like with you on this one, where I'm just not really drafting any Travis Kelce. I don't fear him beating me in fantasy leagues this year. I think he's a floor play, which, hey, sometimes we need a floor play. And say you're in your redraft league and you're the last person to take a tight end, and no one wants Travis Kelce. Like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. I'll just lock in those nice little PPR points, but I'm not really expecting any sort of ceiling here for a lot of the reasons we talked about, especially like the point you made where like they've already kind of showed it last year, talked about it, that they're kind of keeping him for the end of the season and into the playoffs. Now, I realize fantasy championships are into the season, so if he's peaking at that point, that seems pretty good. But we need to get to our fantasy championships too, and I don't know how much he's helping us get to our fantasy championships as what I think is really just a floor play in 2025.
I love that you said that. You said like, everyone, when you always hear these obnoxious fantasy analysts say, "Oh, I'm drafting what was the guy Jonathan Brooks last year because I'm going to have him in the fantasy playoffs." Dude, you got to win September. I know everyone says week 17 is the most important thing, but you got to, in your fantasy league at home league, you got to get off to a 4-2, 5-1 start. It just have to. First of all, you're in a better position if you do want to try to make a trade. But once you're 1-5, 2-6. It's over. I mean, you just move on to other leagues, or your soul is crushed. I mean, maybe if you're in one league and you're 2-6, I'll go one more time. So I don't know. I think that's important. It's more important than we talk about to win the first 6 weeks. By Halloween, I want to be a top 3 team in my league.
Yeah, there's certain positions where you can take that swing where you're saying, I realize this is not an early season play, but when you're drafting just one tight end, you want to be able to rely on that tight end all season. And I'm not sure you can do that with Kelce.
Yeah. 0 times have I drafted him. I have on a couple dynasty leagues where I like traded, and oh my God, I made such a bad trade. I need some.
We all got him.
Yeah. No, this one's bad. This was, a couple years ago. It was Keenan Allen was killing it. Like, what was it, like 2 years ago? He was just like lighting it up. Yeah. And CeeDee Lamb got off to a bad start, right? I took on Keenan Allen and Kelce, and I gave up CeeDee Lamb in a freaking dynasty league. I mean, it literally, like, I want to throw up just thinking of it.
We've all got him.
Yeah, no, that was really. What was your worst dynasty trade ever? And we'll get back to this.
Ooh,
I put you on the spot.
Yeah, put me on the spot. I can't think of it right now, but I'll definitely get back to you with maybe. I'll put it in the comments of this video. I'll find my worst dynasty trade and I will put it in the comments of this video.
Yeah, and anyone else, we're going to talk tight ends, but feel free to put your worst dynasty trade because I need to feel better about mine because that one still hurts 2 years later.
I know that I have plenty poor ones. Don't worry about that. There have been some bad dynasty trades. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. What's it called? You didn't make me feel any better. You could have lied, at least made one up, but that's cool.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm a man of my word. Okay, let's move on to our fourth tight end of the day. That's Dallas Goedert. Now, he has a little bit of variance in his price because price points I've got for you on the FFPC, he's tight end 14, underdog, tight end 14, but over on Fast Draft, tight end 18. A little interesting that he's different there, but still has a similar overall range as he does on underdog, despite that. Now, 2024, 10.4 PPR points per game as tight end 10. He's finished between tight end 5 and tight end 12 in PPR points per game each of the last 6 years. He's been one of the more consistent tight ends we've had in fantasy. And he's kind of been a good or bad pick depending on where he's going in that particular year, because there have been years where everyone is expecting that like next step for Dallas Goedert, and it's never really come, right? He's kind of just always been a floor play, similar to how we were saying about Travis Kelce, and that you kind of just know what you're getting, and he's never really going to ascend to that next step. And a lot of that is just because of the offense he plays on. He plays now AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. This is also a running team. Now, when one of those wide receivers is out, we've seen Dallas Goedert be very good and very productive, but we need one of those wide receivers to be out. Where are you at on Dallas Goedert now? Because we've seen this price kind of falling now, possibly the cheapest we've seen for him in a while. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people expected Dallas Goedert to be off of the Eagles this year. Yeah. A lot of the offseason was spent on that, and he's still with the team.
Yeah, the how tight ends get their value, not at the top, like the PPR tight ends. How the non-PPR tight ends get their value is whoever gets the 10 touchdowns that year ends up being tight end 6 or 7, right? Like every year it's someone different, you know? So Dallas Goedert has almost no chance to break that barrier because when they get in close, they tush push, right? So that's where a lot of the tight end touchdowns a lot of times come from, on the 5 or closer. So I mean, even Barkley was adversely affected by short touchdowns. Now he did it in other ways as an Eagle, but they get in close on the goal line, and everyone knows what's happening, right? So you take that off. I mean, you can't really project him to be one of those elite guys. Now, I like that you brought up the consistency. I mean, the days of him expecting him to like break through and be the late round tight end that wins fantasy leagues, I don't think that there's any like hope there. And what's great is you could basically pick the round you want him in. I can't believe the pick variance. You brought my attention to that when you just said that. I'm looking at some like at high stakes data. It's 140 to 180. That's insane, right? Now the good news is that is pretty much a tight passing tree. There's no real third wide receiver that commands targets. And Barkley, you know, I mean, he would be a pass catching option, even though he wasn't last year. So Dallas Goedert is, you know, by projection, probably the third guy on a good offense that we like. So yeah, if you get shut out, I think he's a very reasonable life preserver. I mean, there's other guys in that range that I think I probably would gravitate towards, but man, you know, it's like one of those players where somebody will draft him, they'll start him, he'll end up on a waiver wire, he'll get picked up again. I mean, it's almost no chance to he probably can end up as tight end like 12 or 14, and you just got to hope that you start him in the week where he gets the touchdown or the big blow up week, because he is capable. We know he's a talented player.
You know, I'm actually in on Dallas Goedert this year for like probably the first time in what feels like years, because this is a depressed price, I would say. You know, I think we're buying him at his floor at this point, and I think he's got range for higher. If anything happens to AJ Brown or Devonta Smith, we know he can be a producer, as I've mentioned. But at this price, we don't need or expect him to be top 5. We just need him to finish as a tight end 1, and we'll be happy. And this is one of those like, why draft Travis Kelce when you can basically just draft Travis Kelce rounds later as Dallas Goedert?
Yeah, no, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Now you said you're a wait on tight end guy, and the problem with when I end up doing the wait on tight end strategy is then I start playing like chicken, and I'm like, oh, this is like, we get into like round 12, and in leagues where you still play kicker and defense, I'm that nut that will take a kicker in round 12. I want Brandon Aubrey, right? Because he's got a late buy, so I'm not taking like a Dallas Goedert or any of my upside guys there, because Aubrey or your favorite kicker ends up being in your lineup every week. Now, everyone always makes fun of me for that strategy, but in Justin Tucker's days, it's like the reason we take kickers in the last round and we pass on guys like Dallas Goedert is because we never know which kicker is going to be number 1 or number 7. There's not much difference. But when you have a guy like Aubrey who kicks 60-yarders, and back in the day, Tucker, I think it's someone you want to push up, and that shuts me out of guys like Dallas Goedert. But you made a great case for him, and the best thing about him though is that you said he has that injury upside too. If one of the other two, the big two, are out, and obviously we love the offense. So no, you made a persuasive case. I have Goedert in one dynasty league, but maybe I do need to draft him. I told you, Wyatt, I listened to your show, so you're just persuading me to get some of these guys. I'm gonna end up with a team of tight ends now. It's gonna be horrible.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. All right, last tight end of the day, Hunter Henry. Now, basically tight end 19, 20 across the universe right now, somewhere in there. last year was a very good year for him, especially based on his price. 9.1 PPR points a game. Only tight end 15. But based on where we were drafting him, that was actually a pretty big win because we were able to stream Hunter Henry for a lot of the year. He had career highs in receptions and receiving yards in 2024. Basically, Drake May's #1 wide receiver last year. Now that offense has added some weapons, but Hunter Henry still figures to be a large part of that offense, especially as one of the players with the biggest rapport with his quarterback. Are you digging any Hunter Henry late in drafts?
Oh,
Are you all right?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, no, he's my backstop. Like he's if I get in trouble at tight end, if I miss on like Goedert or and I'm Kyle Pitts, if I want to take an upside shot, or one of the rookies, or Jake Ferguson, who's probably just going to keep moving on up now. Like Hunter Henry is the last guy that could literally be the #1 pass catcher on his team, right? I mean, Stephon Diggs coming off an injury. If he's healthy, I mean, obviously he would be the projection, but after that, you have think about that squad. You have Pop Douglas, who's more of a slot PPR guy. But when you get, and then a third round rookie in Kyle Williams, which, looks good. The camp stuff looks good, but come on, man, that's still, I'm just going to take the base rate and bet against a third round rookie popping every time. So yeah, I mean, either you believe in Drake May and Mike Vrabel and this offense, the Patriots are going to be a popular pick to make the playoffs as an underdog, a team that wasn't there last year. I think it's all trending up. And like I said, when they get in close, they're going to be looking at Hunter Henry. He's still, I mean, he looked great last year. It wasn't too long ago. Like Hunter Henry was one of these guys that was a 5th round pick when he was on the Chargers.
Yeah.
Disappointed a little bit here, but yeah, I think that he would be like the life preserver, the backstop. Like he's the last guy in ADP. Let's see. Yeah, I'm seeing him around anywhere from tight end 20 to 23, depending on where you're looking. I think he's a player that could legitimately end up as, I mean, he did it last year as a top 12 tight end and have some consistency. That's really the key. What you want with Henry. I like him a lot, especially since he can be the primary target in the passing game.
I'm with you, Alan. I mean, any league where it's really deep and you're drafting 2 tight ends, or any best ball league where you're normally drafting 2 tight ends, like Hunter Henry is a very big target of mine because I think he can finish as a top 12 tight end despite this lower cost. I mean, I expect him to have a similar role as he did in 2024, except I expect that team to score a lot more touchdowns. And if he's getting some more of those touchdowns, now we're really starting to talk about a top 12 tight end. And I think even in one, like normal redraft leagues where short benches and all that, I think he's someone where you could potentially make him the last tight end drafted in a league. I would not argue with you doing that, but I think at least he is someone who you're going to be looking at if you need to be streaming in tight end. He's going to be among the first people that you call on to do that.
Oh yeah, totally right. Like he could end up being like a waiver wire tight end or something like that, right? I understand. What can we do one bonus guy right here? I know you
absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm dying to find out what smart people think about Tucker Kraft, because I told you it's everything that Jordan Love's been saying about him. The yards after the catch stuff, the yards per route, right? Everything, all the under the hood metrics look good. He looks like he was a true breakout star, like almost like George Kittle-esque with yards after the catch.
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like you agree, but like, what do you? I mean, is he like a proactive target for you, Kraft?
Yeah, him and David Njoku are like the ones where, like, when I'm waiting a little bit, that's where I start attacking again, is I get to that point. But Tucker Kraft, like you said, very efficient player after the catch. He's got that dog mentality. I'm going to use in quotation marks because that's just kind of anecdotal there with that one, but it's true. Like out on the field, like he breaks a lot of tackles. He runs hard after the catch. That offense with Matt LaFleur is able to create those opportunities for him on a consistent basis. And the one thing that for me, that is, people like to point out all the wide receivers and say, well, it's muddy because they've got all these wide receivers. And to me, it's not as muddy as people think, because those wide receivers rotate and Tucker Kraft does not rotate. He's out on the field full time. And we've got them now hyping him up this offseason. The coach speak has been strong for Tucker Kraft. Not surprising to me that a very efficient player in the offense would make sense for the coaching staff to hype him up and say, like, we should probably get him the ball more. Like, would it be a surprise if he's actually the one who leads that passing offense, if they make the passing offense around Tucker Kraft similar to George Kittle for the 49ers? It would not surprise me.
Not only not surprise me, they should do that, and I would expect that he's going to, break 100 targets. I'm very in on Tucker Kraft, and he had like a long one last year. He had like a 60+ yard touchdown. I mean, he could break them too, just like how Kittle can. Even though Kittle didn't do it last year, but he had all stuff in close. But yeah, man, I have him as my tight end 5, but you know, you can wait till he goes his tight end 10 right now, so you can wait till tight end the 8th one's off the board and then just take him if you want him. So yeah, that's the point that you just said is the one that I'm taking with me, is that the perception is that it's a spread around, but it could be a spread around except it's focused on him. I think that with all the
Yes.
speak and Jordan, yeah, no, I'm good. All right, well, you just confirm now. At least if I'm wrong, I have someone else to blame.
Love it. Love it. And I hope everyone out there appreciates the bonus player here with that Tucker Kraft talk. I appreciate you, Alan, for coming on and chatting with me. Before we got here, though, let everyone know where to find you, find all your work, all that stuff.
Sure. So I'll take the opportunity. So Rotowire, you can go over there and check out. We have a mock draft simulator tool that just got put up. It's pretty cool. Draft assistant. If you want to get behind Rotowire's paywall, I'll give your audience 15% off. I always believe you should have multiple fantasy subscriptions. I subscribe to Player Profiler. You should, again, some people like one. I like at least 2 or 3 just to see what's going on out there. So go to rotowire.com. Our app is free when you have a subscription. YouTube 15 gives you 15% off.
Love it. Love to hear it. I appreciate you again. Everyone out there, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at @YB_FF. Make sure you've liked and subscribed this video and subscribe to everything on Player Profiler, the channel as a whole. Watch all the videos because they're all really good and they're going to help you win your fantasy leagues. If you're not signed up to Fast Draft yet, you really should, because it's a super cool way to play fantasy football. Really unique best ball site that will help you in your drafts, come redraft league, and you can win some money doing it. Sign up with code Wyatt for a $50 deposit match. I appreciate all of you. We'll see you next time.